Good morning, class. Thank you for coming into the demo for QA automation. You know, this pandemic has created a lot of hassles for a lot of different jobs. However, I think for the IT, it has done phenomenally well. It has created a lot of opportunities, especially in the arena of software testing. Let me talk about what we can gain from this demo. My goal here is by the end of this presentation, I'll demonstrate how you can guarantee winning a lottery, which is well over $1 million. So hold me accountable to this. I'll demonstrate that closer to the end. Anyway, what I'm going to cover in this class is why QA automation field is an easy entry into computer field. Also talk about the future potentials for the job, income potential, quality of life, a brighter future, and how we can achieve all of this. Now, there are a lot of different variety of courses out there, a lot of things you have heard in the industry that is popular. For example, data science, full stack web production developer, security, cybersecurity, mobile engineering, cloud engineering, Java programming, Python programming, and several other type of programmings that are out there. And this must be confusing for a lot of people to think about how to choose a particular course or a career. Where do you get your foot in the door in an IT if you're not in IT already? So let me just talk about some of the trends that you may have seen come and go. There's some booms and there were some hypes that have happened over the years. For example, big data, that was big at one time. Data analytics was big after that. Bitcoin, exchange, blockchain. So there's a lot of these big words going around. And you're not sure if it is one of those hypes or trends, or it's something which is going to stay. So let's talk about some of the natural progressions, what software testing consists of. Natural progression. Now, as you're aware, a lot of the physical stores have disappeared. For example, Kmart, Sears, Border Bookstore. Some of these are gone. You don't see them anymore. Some of the online stores are coming up, for example, Alibaba, Amazon, Alibaba, and a few others. Some of the stores have disappeared from presence in the industry and they only exist in online. They just moved. Now, for a lot of this work, they need people to build the websites, build the programs, so people can buy merchandise online or they can provide services to people online. And you would be, as a consumer, you would be just going to that online store as opposed to the physical store. And you need a group of people to manage it. Developers will develop it. Testers will test it. And the web and security people will make sure that it stays up and stays secure. Now, how long will this last? Is this a short trend or is it going to be a long term? Well, my friends, I think this is a haul for long haul because if physical stores are disappearing, there are a lot of being moved to online. There is going to be a lot of potential. This is just a start. Majority of the stuff is going to move online. So just look out, bright future. Now, why software testing will be around for a long time? Now, customers are addicted to quality. For example, if you go to a website and you cannot purchase a product, and you go to a different website where you can easily see the merchandise and be able to purchase it quickly, where do you think people will go? Obviously, they'll go to the second site where the consumer experience is good. Now, how does a consumer experience becomes good? Well, there's a lot of competition. So they want to make sure the quality of the product which is built is good, make sure it's thoroughly tested, where the QA people come in. And the QA people are really the gatekeepers of a product before it's released. So you make sure the quality is good, and that's why this job is very important. to the companies, and they'll spend money on it, and they will seek for the best testers in the market. So here we go. Why? There are a lot of jobs out there. Why testing? Now, developers, for example, there are multiple technologies out there. If not chosen correct area, it will not be desired. Let's say if you choose a programming language which is not in demand anymore, you may learn it, but you may not be able to get a job in it. Or if you are expert in certain area, all of a sudden that technology changes and you're no longer an expert. So you have to relearn new stuff that comes up. Now, product can be developed using many different types of programming languages. It will be tested before it goes to production. So testing process is same, doesn't matter what software is developed or what language is used to develop product. For example, at one time, a particular language, for example, Fortran was very popular, and people were getting paid a lot of money to know the language and know how to develop product in it. It was popular, so people were getting paid good money. A few years later, it was no longer the case. There's a new language came in. Like today, it's Python and Java. If you know Python and Java, well, you're in big demand. However, for the people who are doing the testing, the process doesn't really change. The tools are very similar. Process is very similar. The longer you work on this, the more experience you gain. Thus, you increase your value in time. Now, let's talk about different flavors that we have with knowing the skill. Now, with a QA, it's a skill that you can have. It's kind of like doctors. Doesn't matter which country you have come from, doctor is a doctor. And you can transfer that skill anywhere in the world. Same way, the quality assurance, software testing is a skill set that you can take anywhere in the world and get a job. You can learn the skill and basically go work in Canada, or you can go to Europe and apply the same skill as a software tester. Or you can go to India, China, South America, Australia. You will be able to utilize the skill and get a job anywhere where you can speak the language and you know the skill set. Now, chronologically, testing will be required in the market for a long time, because as long as it's developing the product, that product will need to be tested thoroughly before it is released in the market. Now, scope for the job. Now, you may have different companies who develop product in certain fields. For example, a company that have experts who develop a Java product. There's another company that is an expert. They develop in .NET. Another one does in CRM. Another one is just doing testing, right? However, testing will be required for each one of these disciplines. So testing jobs are required for Java, .NET, CRM, and the company that does the testing will provide these services to many other companies. So the need for testing is across the board in all the different products. And you don't need to know all the different languages, but you just need to know how to do the testing. And this is what we teach you here. Next steps. If you want to choose testing as a career, how will you do it? You learn the skill, hands-on practice, you work on projects, you will have to do group exercises, you have to do interview preparations, you do questions and answers, tips on resumes, job placement assistant, that's an option if people need to choose that. Now, on-the-job support is something else that we provide as an option for people who finish the course and get the job. Facts. Now, if you perform QA test every day, now, for example, if you use online banking or you respond to emails or you use Facebook or any other application which is browser-based, you use that on your computer or on your mobile device, you are actually doing testing. Give me an example. If online banking, your ID and password do not work, you will call support and get help. You will report the issue that exactly this is what I'm doing and it is not working. Can you help me? Same thing for if the money was missing or if a different transaction shows up in your bank, you will call and report what's going on. QA people do just that. They basically report on issues which are defects. What do QA people do? Well, what we teach you and what you do as a QA is you will document things in a certain way. Now, skills that are required, you basically document testing results. For example, if your ID and passwords don't work, you'll report exactly this is the site you went into, this is the ID, and this is the password you type, and this is the result you got. And report problems. For example, money is missing from your bank or a wrong transaction shows up. You report that and you will document all the steps. And for the automation part, you will develop skills. For example, automation scripts will do. For example, you're testing a group of IDs and passwords. You write a script that will test multiple IDs and multiple passwords. It will give you the results. And this is what the automation really is one example of doing that. Skills that are required. Now, most essential skills for a software tester includes analytical skills, where you have to think clearly and structurally and sequentially in how things happen. You will also need to be proficient with the written communication. You need to have attention to the details. You need to have good judgment, and team player skill is highly desired. You will be working closely with people, gaining knowledge about the application and how you actually do the work. So if you're entering the field new, this skill will get you far when you work with people, and you will gain a lot of knowledge in team environment. Now let's talk about knowledge. The most essential knowledge component of a software tester includes testing process, tools, knowledge, business and application understanding. Now, the testing process will teach you. We'll also teach you how to use the tools and what tools to use. Business and application understanding, you'll gain that when you start in a new project. They'll give you information about this. And by us providing support during the beginning period, we can help you gain the understanding very quickly about the business as well. And the exercises that you will do in class and the projects that you'll work on will also gain a good understanding of what the business and what the applications are. Now, the approach that we take in teaching people in this class is a 6-phase teaching approach. Now, we know people learn things differently. Different people learn. Some people learn more by reading, some learn by understanding, some people do it by doing. However, what we've done is encompassed all the different type of learnings and we packed it into the class. So some people take lecture, they understand the lecture, they may take away 50% of it by the end of the day, but next day they may remember only 10 or 20% of it, and they forgot 80%. And so what we have done is we have combined all of this. We give you a lecture, we'll give you hands-on exercises. We'll also give you reading material. We'll give you videos to watch during your downtime. We'll also give you quizzes so you can recall what you've learned and how much you remember, how much you do not remember. And this will help you gauge you to make sure you understand the material thoroughly. We'll also wrap it up by the interview questions and answers to a particular topic or subject or discipline. So that way, what you're really doing as you're taking the class, you're practicing for the interviews as well as learning the material. So this way, I think you will gain a lot better understanding of the material and you will walk away with skills of being able to do the job more effectively. And you'll remember a lot more. Now, what we'll cover in this class. Now, generally the trends that we have, we basically start with manual testing. Now we compress that into 3 weeks of how we are going to basically teach you. Automation testing is roughly 6 weeks. And this is where the core of the training really is. We're teaching you how to run automation scripts after you learn the basics of how you do the manual testing. Now, this API testing, we just added recently to bring in the cloud testing. Now, in the cloud, most of the communication between components is done using API. So it's an important skill to have in the market, and this skill pays really well if you have that. So we just recently added this after doing the survey in the market for the jobs that are out there and what kind of skill set they demand and what is the industry looking for. So this we're going to add at the end, and combined it's going to be basically 2.5, actually a little more than 3 months of training that we'll have. So this orange section is what we'll cover in the class. However, in the future, if you go back and start working and you want to become a developer, meaning taking the next level of skill set to move on to a more technical job, most of those jobs basically start around 125,000 or so as a full stack developer. My advice would be to go in as a QA, learn some of the skills, understand the industry and the business, and then take a class to become a developer. We are looking into developing this class, and we offer that as well. If you come back, you can take this class with us to take the next jump. Now, if you want to move towards management or project management, you can take the ACP or PMP class with us. And most people who finish that skill set and go into management, they basically are anywhere up to 185,000 to close to $200,000 in the industry today. And that basically leads you into management track. And you can move into the management or C-level executives. And this would be a career path that I would advise. You can take a technical route or you can take a management route. One way or the other, you have different options presented to yourself. Now, easy entry into the field. Now, as I mentioned, there are a lot of different disciplines in the market that you can go into. For example, cybersecurity, programming, AWS, cloud engineering. But the criterion to enter in that industry is really high. And they're looking for a degree in computer science, and they're looking for a few years experience working with a particular discipline and multiple certifications. So the gateway to get into those fields is difficult. However, if you come into QA, the requirements are not that rigid. It's an easy entry into the field. Some of the things that actually go into making it easy are a couple of things. Most of the QA jobs really are contracting jobs, and they last anywhere from a year to 5 years, and they're going from contract to contract. And that's why they would look for people who can use the tools, who can do certain type of testing, who have certain type of skills. They bring the people in, and the project finishes, they basically go out. However, there's a huge demand for this skill in the market. And because the need is high, and they're looking for a particular skill set, they basically bring people in effectively to do the job. So what you do is when you go to the job, you learn newer skills, learn the business, and then you move on. Now, most testing jobs require a degree, but not all of them. Roughly 60 to 70% require a degree, but the 30% does not. Now, if you have a degree, you basically start off at a higher salary. If you don't have a degree, you basically start off at a lower salary. My advice is, if you do not have a degree, you're working towards it. Once you get the job, have the company that you're working for pay for you to finish the degree, because you will land a higher job. Now, I can give you an example that if you have a degree, for example, you could be starting off at $90,000 a year. If you do not have a degree for a similar type of job, you could be starting off at $60,000, $65,000. Okay, so really a $25,000 to $30,000 off from the target. That means you're losing about $2,000 a month from the maximum salary that you can get. So take advantage, get the degree if you don't have it. But if you don't have a degree, that doesn't mean it disqualifies you from the market. All that means is basically you could be landing a lower salary job, but you can work towards it. Now, your previous experience can be considered in this industry, and I'll talk about in class how you can get that. For example, you're doing online banking, Facebook, applications online, or purchasing software online, Amazon. A lot of this experience could be used effectively to pretty much sell yourself and sell your experience that you've done this type of testing. Now, your ability to use the QA tools is highly desired. We'll teach you those tools in the class. Now, your ability to do the work is your qualification, because all they want to do is they want to bring you in to do certain type of work, and that's all they want. And if you have possessed the skill set and you can talk about it, your job is secured. Now, finding defects in software, that is a process of being released before it is released to make sure it is error-free. Now, software, the different type of titles that people carry in this area. There's a software tester, quality assurance analyst, automation tester, automation test engineer, automation engineer. Now, a lot of these jobs out there that basically talk about what the different type of software engineers do. Now, this is one example. If I look for software testing in Washington, D.C. area, and you run an analysis, you realize there are about 13,000 openings in Washington, D.C. area today that mention software testing. And some of these salaries are fairly high. So I would kind of steer away, because this is probably a lot more to it than what just the title states. But more realistic would be, let's come down. More realistic would be, for example, software engineer. Well, yeah, this basically would be a software engineer, software design engineer. Let's come down to software tester, software engineer managing jobs. Basically, there's a pretty decent salaries. Here it is, software tester. Let's take a look at what this job description really is. Now, most of the jobs nowadays for software tester is remote. So it doesn't matter where you are. You could be working from home, or you could be working from a vacation home or a different state. Now, for this example, $50 an hour to $65 an hour. Now, $50 an hour is $100,000 a year. $65 an hour is $130,000 a year. It's a decent salary. Now, requirements for this one is bachelor's degree required. So this is one of those areas where they're looking for a bachelor's degree. And they're looking for like 4 years of experience. So some of this you have, some of this you can gain. Anyway, let's take a look at some of the skill sets they require. Must have public trust clearance. Now, public trust clearance is a simple process that most companies do when they hire a person. But this one is looking for existing clearance. Or if you're in the first job and you're looking to move in the second one, this is an ideal one. Now, look at this activity. Develop, maintain, manage test plans. We'll teach you the test plans in the class. We'll teach you the test cases, how they're done. And we'll teach you how to do things more accurately and securely. Now, coordinate additional load data and support for testing. We'll talk about how we can load data. We'll teach you the SQL. SQL is a language that is used to pull information from database and do manipulation activity with it. And that's basically used for data loading. Now, execute test plans. We'll do that in class. The various levels of testing, including, we'll do various levels of testing, what they are. We'll teach you in the very beginning what they are. Different type of testings is covered in class. And we'll also do the coordinate user acceptance testing. We'll talk about what 548 testing is. So there's all these activities we'll teach you in class. So what we'll teach you really would qualify you for this type of job. Now, is this something that you guys want to do? Okay, if you do, let's continue on. Let me compare some of the other jobs that are out there to what they pay and what the IT jobs pay. Now, if you take a look at this, for example, a bank teller job, which some of these jobs are disappearing. They basically, in Washington, D.C., if you take a look at it, this shows you have 357 jobs out there, and the salary range is anywhere from 20,000 to 45,000 a year. So let's take average as a 30,000 a year for a bank teller job that is out there that pays today. Now, that's roughly about $13 an hour. Compare that to an automation engineer job, which pays about $101,000 a year in Washington, D.C. area. Okay. Now, these are some of the companies right now that advertising what they'll pay their automation engineer. 154,000, 135,000, 134, 120, 114. These are pretty desirable salaries to shoot for and good things to target for. Okay, let's take an example. Bank tellers, there's a bank teller job, limo driver job, sales associate. So a lot of these jobs are kind of disappearing. Bank teller, it's going online. Limo drivers being replaced by Ubers. Sales associate, well, some of those stores are disappearing, going online. So these jobs are going away too. So, and also take a look at the median income in the US. In 2019, the average median income across the US was 57,000 for a household. However, compare that to Loudoun County. It is 139,000 in Loudoun County for average household. Why is it so high here? Well, my friends, it is mostly because of government contracting and because of the IT jobs. So IT jobs pay a lot more than most of the other jobs that you'll see in the industry. So let's take advantage of it. We are in the right area to take advantage of that. Now, situation, for example, the average starting salary for a graduate from our school is about 95,000 a year. Now, these are different type of jobs that are out there in different salary range. QA analysts, software tester, QA engineers, automation engineers. So salary ranges, but there are a lot of openings out there. So let's do a comparison. Non-IT worker, 30,000 a year. QA average, 95,000 a year. The difference is really 65,000 a year. Would, if you're in non-IT, you would like to move to IT, with 65,000 a year difference would be an incentive. I think a lot of people will say, yes, that is an incentive. Okay, let's move on to the next step. Now, most people in non-IT generally get a raise of 3% per year. So that means if you started at 30,000 in 10 years, you will be at 40,000 a year. Okay. Now, compare that to an IT. IT salaries increase much faster. In 10 years, most people double their salary. Let's say if you started 95,000 a year, in 10 years, it would be 190,000. Okay. So let's do the comparison between non-IT and IT. Now, in 10 years, the salary difference is going to be $150,000 more per year for between non-IT and IT. So what do you think would be the difference in salary between, in 10 years, between a non-IT and IT? That means if you stay at non-IT career, you'll make X amount of money. How much more money will you make in 10 years if you move towards IT? Let's take a look. Now, this is a Zen state when you realize that you have made it. But let's take a look at an example. You will really make 1.425 million more by making the transition to an IT from a non-IT. Are you ready to win this lottery? Will this make a difference for you? How much will you pay for this opportunity? Okay. What is it worth for you to make the additional $1.4 million in next 10 years? Will you make a commitment to make this happen? Will you make the time to study? Will you pause your social life for 3 to 4 months to take this class and make this happen? Well, think about it. Well, if you pause it for now, how much more fun you can have by making that additional money? More quality. Will you adjust your priorities to make this class a priority? Will this change your life? Will this be worth $2,000 of investment that you're going to make now and the time you can set aside and work that you will do to make this happen? Is it worth it? I'm sure it is. What do I need to do next? Well, let's take a look. If you're online listening to this, you already have a laptop with at least i5 or higher, 8 gig RAM, 70 gigabits of space available on your laptop to load software on, so we can create a lab for you. Now the class schedule is Saturday, 2 hours class. Sunday, we'll do quiz and review again for 2 hours. They go from 9:30 to 11:30 a.m. On the weeknights, I'll tell you to save yourself at least an hour every night so you can study and work on this. And sometimes if you're falling behind, spend more time. Take an hour and a half. We'll break the class for you. You will never change your life until you change something you do daily. If you continue on with your life the way it is, it'll continue the same way. For example, if you're non-IT, you're making $30,000 a year. In 10 years, you'll only make about $40,000 a year. Look on the other side. You make that transition from non-IT to IT and make $65,000 more. In 10 years, you will make 1.4 million more in that 10 years. Do you want to change your daily routine? Do you want to make a difference in your life and future? So the secret of your success is found in your daily routine. It's done by John Maxwell. These are the tips that you're given, how you make small changes to change your path. And this is the way to do it. Let me and Venkat team up with you and help you get there. Now, what will you be covered in the class? In the first class, the manual testing space, we'll talk about the SDLC, manual testing, test cases, bug report, SQL, testing tools. We'll talk about Selenium, Maven. We'll talk about the Agile. We'll talk about interview. We'll also talk about the API. Now, the approach that we take in helping people, we'll research before every class on how market is changing. So the example that we've given you about introducing API in class was the result of this. Now we are engaging with the ongoing interview process. We kind of know what kind of questions are asked. We have a huge data of questions and answers that could be asked during the interview. So it'll help you, guide you, coach you, and build confidence that you'll do better. We'll provide you resume assistance. That's an option if you need our assistance. We'll guide you on what industries look for in the resume. We'll also do interview preparation and coaching. We also have an option where you need our assistance. After you get a job, we can provide you assistance for the first 3 months. So for software development lifecycle, this is the space where you work. And this is a breakdown of the industry, how the software is developed. There's follow the SDLC cycle, which is software development lifecycle. You gather requirements, you design, implement, and there's a portion about testing, and there's maintenance. This is operation and maintenance. So this is the entire industry. But where you go is just doing this testing. So within the testing, you create the test plan. You do test analysis, you do test design, you do test execution, and you have the test closure that you do. So this is a very structured process that will teach you that the industry follows. However, you need to be in sync with the rest of the industry. And if you know what the different people do, the ones who gather requirements, the ones who do the design, one who do the implementation. And after the implementation, maintenance, and operations, if you know what the different people do, and you know where you fit in all of this, and this is your space, you would be able to communicate very effectively with the team. And this information will help you better communicate with other team players. So this is important, but this is a structure that you will work in. So we'll start detailed explanation of this in class, the first one, and we'll move from there on. So think about it. Nothing is impossible. You can do this. I've helped a lot of people in the class to basically take that transition and let me help you get through for you as well. So make a commitment to yourself and make a commitment in class, and let's start this journey. Okay, next steps. You go online and register for this class. Intuition, make a first class payment and we'll start the class next Saturday. And once you make the payments, I'll send you the invitation for the class. Then you can join online. We'll be starting the class on Saturday and Sunday, 9:30 to 11:30. So once you make the payment, I'll send you the invitation for the class link. Class prep. I'll give you a first video to watch that talks about the outline for the first class. It's about an hour long, and this will help you, prepare you, and mentally get you ready for the class. Any questions?